Transmitting final briefing. As of now, Airborne Squad 7 will exterminate the Alpha Nativas occupying District 3.
I suppose this is technically a follow-up video. I am CouchCoop. I spoke about the Digital Foundry scandal and Alex talking about the model from Stellar Blade, Eve not actually being a real person in the real world, and they were. It was all very embarrassing. Whole thing's happened again with IGN. I want to just bring you all up to speed because there's a few other players that have entered the arena. This is the Stellar Blade demo playing in the background. I thoroughly recommend you download it. I'll talk about it a bit later. I want to cover all of this juicy gossip. You may have heard me drop the name Sweet Baby Inc. in a few other videos and thumbnails, and it's a bit of a rabbit hole, but essentially they're a consultancy firm that has been supporting a lot of AAA games, supporting their development on a sort of cultural, inclusive level, making sure they're diverse enough and acting as information givers for any characters that the developers feel they don't have enough confidence or applicable backstory to sort of build on. So Sweet Baby Inc. are called in. They were involved with the Forspoken video game, and that may or may not have failed on that front due to a lot of its quite forced feeling injection of diversity. Long story short, Sweet Baby have been called out massively for this on Twitter, and running to their defense is Kotaku, a traditionally quite left-leaning publication, and there's been an editor-in-chief there who's been coming out with some quite close-to-the-bone rhetoric. The story also has another bunch of characters called Black Girl Gamers. Now, I have a personal involvement with these people. Last year, around June, July, I was pulling them up on Twitter about why they're called Black Girl Gamers. I was like, isn't segregation like something from Jim Crow? We don't need it full stop, let alone in gaming. I was immediately blocked and I was ostracized. A lot of my followers of colour were direct messaged and hassled for quite a while. I felt terrible about the situation. A lot of the responses were from people pushing the angle of a safe space. There's a lot of abuse online and in gaming, Call of Duty lobbies, and they needed somewhere where they could feel protected. My argument back was a racially focused safe space is basically the Third Reich. That's what they wanted, was just to be Aryan and genocidal lunatics. Your pushback on that could be, what about the KKK and all of the atrocities that have been previous on a white front with focus groups? And I would say they should be stamped out at every given opportunity and silenced and erased, and I agree, it's an embarrassment. They shouldn't be given a Twitter account though, and exclusive access to game development, and that's how the whole story folds in, is that Black Girl Gamers are involved also on a consultancy level on some video games that are out or coming out. That aforementioned editor-in-chief at Kotaku has been streaming and podcasting recently about Stellar Blade. That's how we've come back to this. And again, that female form and a lot of looking down the nose at this type of art, even though it's been around in video games for well over 30 years plus. The thing about this type of media is that it's a voluntary purchase. So let's the wallet do the talking. Let's see how Stellar Blade does. I don't know if you're aware of what happened to Godforsaken, but that studio shut down. Those devs are now looking for work. There are a lot of people pushing back against Sweet Baby Inc. and Black Girl Gamers and DEI and a lot of this ESG score. And one of them is Grums. He's doing the Lord's work over there and getting loads of abuse for it. And of course, you've got Brutus, who kicked this whole thing off with a list that was made on Steam to detect any game that's had Sweet Baby Inc. involved on a consultancy level. It plucks them out for you, so you don't have to look them up manually. And they kicked off. There was a guy, Chris Kindred, who started hassling everybody online. He then got a Twitter ban. It was comedy. What's that Stellar Blade like then? It is okay for a third-person ARPG hack and slash. That's the good news. It's got a focus button, it's got cool specials, but I just really need to see that mid-game and a bit more detail on that meta. It feels a little bit demo-y, but they probably just gave us a slightly different build to that final game. Obviously they did, because this is a demo. I can only see this getting a hell of a lot better. I want to see more bigger bosses, massive, more badass weapons, alternative outfits. All of that will be present in the main game. I'm fully aware, but it just felt really chastising to only get that small slice in the demo. No, it's not the same studio, but the country of origin is. The Lies of P developers pulled out an absolute banger straight off the bat that competed with Dark Souls everything born. So it is not unfeasible for this game to be a potential Bayonetta beta. It certainly has the groundwork for it, but will it be up there with some of the sword slashing greats? Only time will tell, and it's not long.
It's nothing really. Though I have used up almost all of the exospine materials that I collected over the years.
Oh.
It's alright. That now means we can help each other.
That outfit is extremely tongue-in-cheek, and you can understand the middle-aged mother walking into the living room to see her son playing something like this mid-high kick. But it's the fact that we have the choice as gamers, a consumer's choice, and that option exists. It shouldn't be eradicated or removed. It should go out of business if it's no good. Of course, that's the joy of capitalism. To step in the way or try and get in front of an artistic angle like Stellar Blades is kind of unforgivable. I think we're all in agreement.
This place of fear and fury.
That is not a reference to Game Pass. I do want to talk about the new HellBlade's 30 frames per second announcement and just remind everybody, particularly Sony fans and Capcom fans, that last 2 weeks we saw the release of Dragon's Dogma 2, which runs at 30 frames per second. Now, why would they make a AAA game performing at such low specs on a frame rate level? The answer for me is that it's got to be running at a decent resolution. They've upped that to counteract the more power or teraflops, whatever they're calling them nowadays, available for not going to that 60. I may be wrong on some occasion, but it never really downheartens me. We saw that with Starfield. It's still a cracking looking game, still running at that 30 FPS. I just don't get the ridicule with it. I think if your game is terrible and runs at 30 frames per second and is AAA, Redfall, then you do have a problem. Look at something like Fallout 76, or even when No Man's Sky, which I'm actually looking at again because we've had some big old recent updates. They never started out at peg 60 frames per second. It was a difficult thing for them to accomplish. Some of it's got to do with them being online all the time or procedural generation. But now you should see how absolutely crisp those games look. Talking of Game Pass, I would really recommend looking at HellBlade 1 whilst you've got the chance before all the hype comes up for the second. It's a dark, cerebral, brilliant looking, gritty piece of software. I absolutely enjoyed every second of it. It's not massive and it's not going to break your brain, but it's a really excellent journey. I was, of course, Couch Coop. Please tell me what side of the fence you're on with this Sweet Baby Inc. Black Girl Gamers debacle, and I will see you down there.